All right, I'm the flatratemaster, and today we're talking solder versus crimp connectors. Which one's better? Solder versus butt connectors. Which one's going to be better? This should be a fun one. We all know there's people that are passionate either way. You know, the guys that go, if you're not soldering, you're a hack, you're a hack, you're a hack. And then the guys go, butt connectors work. So, we're going to go through pros and cons of each. And at the end, we're going to talk about what I do. So, soldering. Pros. It's going to be a very secure connection if you do it right. And you'll notice a theme to if you do it right. Use a good heat shrink with a sealant. It's a very water resistant and corrosion resistant seal. Very low likelihood of having green crusties. On repairs of multiple wires, it's going to be a lot less bulky than butt connectors. If you've ever seen a guy do like 6 or 7 butt connectors and it comes out to about that far around, you know what I'm talking about. Now, a good solder connection is going to be pretty tight, pretty secure, and it's going to be a long-term repair. Now, I use what's called the Western Union joint. Basically, I twist it around each other, the 2 wires, in an X pattern. Makes a really secure connection. Some guys do the push them together and twist. I find that's really difficult to do, especially in awkward situations, you know, like you're repairing wires in a car. So I do the twist and X method, the Western Union. Only downside to it is you need a little more stripped wire, and if you're short on wire, you're probably going to have to add a length of it, but I like it. It's what I use. Now, butt connectors, first off, are the style I use. These with the shrink tube built into them. So you can seal them. The sealing is important. If you're using these standard cheapy butt connectors, stop it. They're junk. This is a good sealed butt connector. It's going to be water resistant, keep away the green crusties. Or you can use a bare butt connector and use shrink tubing like with solder. Just crimp it and then slide your shrink tube over. Pros. Again, it's going to be a good solid connection that's water resistant and corrosion resistant if you do it right. Like one, don't use a little jaw with a pokey thing. That pokes a hole in that insulation and you get a hole. Hole in insulation is a bad thing. Quick and easy. It's a big one. You know, you're on flat rate. You're trying to get done. Quick and easy is a good thing. But we'll talk about when I use each later on. All right, cons. Now, a lot of guys will tell you you get higher resistance with a butt connector versus solder, and I've heard the exact opposite. And in a brand new connection, brand new wire, same quality connection of butt connector and a solder joint, I would say the differences in resistance is within the variable of a resistance test. Basically, null and void. I think they're about the same. Now, later on, when they get crusty, if you didn't seal those connections, that's another story. So, seal your connections. Cons of a solder joint. It's a little harder, a little slower, can be a little tedious. I personally prefer it for any sort of communication system, i.e., going to a mass airflow sensor, a engine sensor, put in a cam sensor pigtail, stuff like that. I prefer to solder. I just don't want to be questioning whether or not my connection on a butt connector, because I didn't crimp it just right, I'd rather solder it. Peace of mind. Headlight stuff like that, I'll use a butt connector. Sealed butt connector. Solder joints can actually tend to break right past the solder where you've got that thick mass of solder, and then you got copper wire. See, basically you've got a pivot point. So if that wire is allowed to move and it can break. That is a drawback of solder. You got to make sure and have a lack of movement. Just the way it is. Butt connectors can be really bulky. Even if you try to stagger repair, so you've got butt connector here, but it can bulk up really quickly. And you can have a hard time getting it back into the harness, stuff like that. It's one of the drawbacks. It just is. It gets really bulky when you add a bunch of butt connectors to a line, when you're trying to fix a lot of wires, or just even a 3-wire sensor. You get done doing a sensor and you've got, that much of a tape joint simply because you've got a butt connector, and it winds up being real bulky. Butt connectors have the same problem with stiffness. Right past the joints, again, you got a stiff sealant, and you get flex, and it can break. So neither one's really better on the breakage part. You got to do your part in securing that wire so it doesn't move. That's the big thing. If it has to flex, it's probably going to break. If you watch Erico's videos and he's looking for a broken wire, where does he always go? Where the wire moves. It's not exactly rocket science. I mean, he's really good at it, but it's not rocket science. Heat, abrasion, movement. When it comes to wire breakage, that's where you want to go. Well, that and rodent damage. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. Hit the bell notification to make sure you get notified when I put out a new video. Comments, I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch. They're always appreciated. Give me your take on it. Do you do like I do and use both, depending on the situation? Are you a, solder Nazi? Just kidding, by the way. Or are you in camp butt connector? Maybe you just like saying butt. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. And as always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master.